Is this thing on or how's it going? Well, hello, and how's it going? Well, how's it going?
Hello, and how's it going? Hello, how's it going?
Well, how's it going? Well, how's it going?
Well, no, sorry. Well, how's it going?
Well, how's it going? I'm here with you. I looked at you and I started
I was
laughing.
going to say good.
Well, how's it going? I'm here with Kristian and Madison, and we're back.
We are back.
We're back, baby. My phone vibrated.
Try not to laugh.
Well, how's it going? I am. That was a terrible start. I apologise. No, we'll run with it though. My name's Ben Spiteri. I'm here with Kristian Karamanich and Niall Moore, our valuer.
Just straight into introducing who he is. Yeah.
Well, sorry, I should have maybe had the.
A bit more suspense.
Yeah, I
you
know.
know.
I'm not very good with the suspense.
Wind it up a little.
I got excited.
Be direct.
No, Niall is our special guest for tonight. He's not replaced Maddie, just in case you're wondering. Maddie
Could
is
be up for debate.
Oh,
We'll see how we go.
That's brutal. We only room for one real estate agent on the podcast, huh? No, we haven't replaced Maddie. Maddie is unwell tonight. She couldn't be here. So we've got Niall basically as a special guest, and he's a property valuer.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for having me on.
No, our pleasure. Thank you for coming, making the effort.
No, we appreciate
The long trip from Wollongong to Corrimal. So it's a big drive, clearly.
I survived.
Yeah. So to start us off, we want to make sure everybody's comfortable. We want people to know who you are before you start,
Sure.
speaking about what you do and that kind of thing. So we want to know a little bit more about you personally before we jump into the inner mechanisms of property valuations. So to start with, obviously, just a bit of a personal background. So obviously, we've already established that you're a valuer. Talk us through your sort of career progression through the industry, how you got to where you are now, and then tell us a bit more about your background, your personal life too, if you feel like it.
Yeah, no problems. I started off doing a science degree at uni and worked in IT for a while, and then got into decided to do valuation. And started off in property management, where most people start off in real estate.
There you go.
And,
if Maddie was here, there'd be three of you in the one room.
Yeah,
it was the hard yards.
Yep.
I started off working in King's Cross back in the day,
Oh, that would have been fun for PM.
doing commercial and retail stuff. It was interesting.
Yeah.
This is back when the
That's a
aircraft.
word for it.
Yeah, this is back when the aircraft carriers used to come in and dock
Oh,
right on the pier there.
Oh, you're a man of many talents. So a science degree, IT, property management, now property valuations.
Well, you got to go and mix it up. I get bored. But you can't imagine there's 5,000 sailors come off these boats, and for like 2 weeks or whatever long they're there, it was just bedlam.
Yeah.
Military police everywhere chasing them around, all drunk. And
back to when King's Cross had a bit of life to it.
oh, it was very different back then. It was pretty wild.
It's still fun now. They still have a Coca-Cola sign. That's fun.
Yeah, they're shut at 11 o'clock every night, though, aren't they?
So that was me. So that was my intro to property.
Yep.
And then from there, finished off my valuation qualifications and just did some basic, bank work and government work in the beginning for like everybody else, bit of volume stuff.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All over Sydney. And I don't know, I just kind of got into commercial, just want a bit of challenge, did some different property types. And these days I do mostly court work. So when people are having a dispute, whether it's family law or estate law, property boundaries, strata, there's more and more strata disputes these days.
So they're really pleasant stuff.
Oh, look, I don't know. I guess I'm old enough now that I don't feel personally involved.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? With a bit of age, you can kind of take a step back and just go, look, I'm just here to solve the problem.
I'm just a numbers guy.
Yeah, just a numbers guy. But I tell you, I do have a lot of crazy clients I have to deal with.
I can imagine if you're doing predominantly property-based disputes, I can imagine that would be it'd get pretty intense.
That's
Pretty
right.
heated
So
pretty quickly.
no, that's how I got into it all. So started off at the bottom, worked my way up, and no, I enjoy doing what I'm doing. It's quite technical at times, quite complicated. And I was in Sydney for 25 years when I started. And
I
then
was going to ask if you're a local Wollongong man yourself. So
yeah, these
you
days
obviously
I
live
am.
in Wollongong now.
Yeah, that's right. So I've been here for 5 years and having done 25 in Sydney. Sydney was fun, but it's just crazy. Traffic, parking, everything. Do you know what I mean? It was just.
Were you originally from Sydney?
No, I'm from Melbourne. So 25 years Melbourne, 25 years Sydney, and probably 25 years here.
You're a Melbourne man. There
That
you
might
go.
see me out.
I think 25 more years will do you. I think.
But I love working in Wollongong. It's just relaxing. People are just chill. There's a lot.
Bit more
Most of my
coastal.
court work is in Sydney. People down here don't fight like that.
Yeah.
As much generally.
Well, I think Ben and I have probably seen a few in our time as well.
There's more
Maybe
mediation down
maybe
here.
fair to say that a bit more money involved up there. So
True,
maybe causes
true.
a
There's
bit
more to fight
of-
over.
Yeah.
Yes. But there is more mediation down here.
Yeah.
Whereas up there, it tends to be more, especially in
Cutthroat.
strata. Like if you're in a prestige area,
Yeah.
every second person is a lawyer or something
Mhm.
professional, and they just
Oh,
love fighting.
I could not imagine being on strata committee with
Yeah,
a lawyer
right.
or a
This is the thing.
No, it's not fun as it is, but when you chuck in someone with that type of negotiating ability, it's
Imagine you sign up for Strata Committee and Niall's on the committee as well. He
I reckon we'd be right.
bloke knows property inside and out. You can never disagree with him.
You can always disagree. I can always learn. I am an expert, not the expert.
No, but he knows his shit. If you disagree and you're out of field, he'll go to war.
I'll tell you what, one thing about being an expert witness in court, which is what I normally do, is you have to put your hand up when you don't know something, which is what most people don't do.
Yeah.
So you train very early on that when you don't know something, your primary duty is to advise the court. You got to put your hand up and say, Your Honour, I don't know, or this is a situation. And that's what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
As opposed to going along and making it up and making a mess for everybody.
Like a real estate agent, just
Not
coming up
judging
with-
anybody.
Or like people on Strata committees.
Well, yeah, they're messy.
So you still go up to Sydney?
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
courts,
Most of my work is up there still. It's been a bit hard to break in down here, but
Yep.
it gives me a mix.
Yeah.
Down here, I do more simple jobs.
Yep.
Up there, I do more complicated stuff.
Mhm.
It keeps me just, I don't know, challenged because I'm doing all of Sydney. One of the things we do court work is you've got to do Greater Sydney because quite often you get a portfolio. There'll be a tree in Bankstown. There'll be a holiday house in Palm Beach. There'll be a penthouse in whatever, if they're in that kind of market.
That's where the work is at the end of the day. And where the volume is for anything property based. If you're within that vicinity, that gravitational pull of Sydney, it's just inevitable.
That's
It's-
right.
yeah.
big
So-
marketplace.
And that's where I built my business. So, most of my business is still there. So, but it is interesting. I like doing the South Coast. I'm trying to develop my South Coast work as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
Because it's more lifestyle oriented. It's interesting. You get to see a few different sites.
Yep.
Mhm.
So
Good stuff.
yeah,
So
that's fun.
obviously you made the move, you said 5 years ago. What prompted that? Because I know when we had Daniel on here, so Niall is also good friends with our previous guest, Daniel from Convey. And Daniel obviously said for him it was kind of just a random, on a whatever day it was, he decided, hey, let's move to Wollongong.
There's an argument at the pool, wasn't it?
Yeah,
His wife wasn't
it
happy at the
was. He
public
was
pool.
sick
so he
of
wanted to
the
buy his
public
own pool.
pools. Yeah. And obviously, in your case, talk us through that decision process. I mean, I'm always curious to know what drives people to move down here. I mean, we've all sort of grown up around here, so
Yep.
for us
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
bit different. So
Look, for me, it was an age thing. My kids finished year 12.
Mhm.
And I just, all right, that's it. So I've enjoyed Sydney. It's been fun. But
Yeah.
seriously, it was taking me too long to drive between jobs.
Yeah.
That was the bottom line.
Yep.
It just came down to dollars per cents for an hourly rate for all my jobs. Traffic, tolls, everything was becoming so
Mhm.
problematic.
Yep.
And everybody was busy during the day and they wanted to see in peak hour and it was hopeless.
yeah.
Yeah.
So no, one of the reasons I moved down here really was just lifestyle. And I can still drive to Sydney to do work.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't take me actually, ironically, much longer from here to go to Western Sydney
Yep.
as it does from the eastern suburbs where I was
Yep.
to Western Sydney.
That's what people don't realize, do they?
No. So if you're going along Picton Road and you're going out west, it's actually pretty quick. An hour and 15, and I'm in most of the southern part of Sydney and below the M4.
And it's not too bad to drive. Whereas I
No.
can imagine if you're driving from the east, it's
stressful.
getting across the M4. And you're lucky to get over 50 Ks.
Yeah, and if you got one breakdown in the M5 or something, it's
Game
a
over.
disaster. Yeah. No, I like it down here, and you're meeting different people. It's a different lifestyle, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the whole thing of property for me is you got to mix it up.
Yes.
Like I've done resi, commercial, whatever. You just got to keep trying new things to learn.
yeah.
Otherwise, you end up in a bit of a comfort zone, and
broaden your skill
you're
sets
not
a little bit.
growing.
Keeps it on your toes as well. Keeps you interested.
Yeah,
and,
that's right,
Something
exactly.
new every day.
Absolutely. There's a couple of questions we always ask when we have guests now. I don't know how it started or how it became a thing, but we kind of have to keep doing it now. And we also use it to try and see if we can plug local establishments in the area too. So obviously you've been here for 5 years now. So I'd be worried
Yes.
if you hadn't developed a bit of a taste and a bit of an idea of what you like around here. So I'm hoping 5 years is enough for that. But do you have a favorite restaurant, and also what's your favorite cocktail?
Yeah, look, I probably am into street food more than anything.
Oh,
So I love
nice.
traveling
Yeah.
through Asia. So ironically, for me, it's not about the fancy restaurants. Things like Taco Tuesdays at Amigos
Yep.
is just chaos. I love it.
It is
Oh,
Wing
um,
Wednesday. We used to, during school and uni, we were almost every Wednesday you could find us at Amigos.
Yeah, it's just kind of some sort of, I don't know, ambience or whatever. Like it's like being
Yeah.
overseas in some chaos.
yeah.
That's sort of my go-to for just like general stuff. But I do like Thai food
Uh-huh.
and home Thai down at Crown Street near Hailing Wharf.
yes. Yep.
That's really
Yes.
nice food.
Okay.
And you can sit outside on the street. But there's heaps. I was actually really surprised in Wollongong how good the food is.
Yep.
There's so many good options.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what to expect.
You have
but
something different every night, pretty much.
Yeah,
If you're
there's a
in
huge
Wollongong,
range
you
of
can-
food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good
Pork
quality
or-
too, isn't
It
it?
is, yeah. Because you got to drive a long way in Sydney between restaurants.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whereas here,
It's all kinda
you got the
clustered
city,
together.
you got Fairy Meadow,
Yeah.
Corrimal. You got a lot of stuff there.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's really good, actually. So
That's
Okay.
it's a good choice. Amigo's hard to go past.
Amigos, you
It's
can't
just
go
fun.
wrong.
It
Home
is. You
home
sit out the
tire.
back there. I completely agree with what you're saying.
All
It
the uni
feels like you're
students and
not in
whatever.
Wollongong.
And, yeah, my kids
Yeah.
are at uni age, and like I like a bit of chaos and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Like, nice restaurants are fun, but I don't know.
No, I agree.
I need a
with
bit
you.
of excitement.
100%.
I'm the same. If I can sit back and smash a few Coronas in my dinner, I'm happy.
Oh,
Yep.
and you can get
Amigos.
away with maybe only spending $25-$30 and you walk out absolutely stuffed. and cheery.
Yeah, Amigos
That
good.
is a
Home
win.
tires, well, you can't go wrong. Good choices.
Yeah, it's good
So,
fun.
speaking of alcoholic drinks,
Yes.
do you have a go-to cocktail?
I'm not a massive cocktail drinker. I'm more into beer and wine. But having
Mhm.
said that, again, if I went to Taco Tuesdays, I'll be having the chili mango daiquiri.
Oh,
that is
nice.
awesome.
That's a good choice.
Oh, that is.
I like
that
anything
is-
spicy.
Yes. I like a spicy marg. It mixes it up.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot for
Yeah.
me, a lot of the cocktails are too sweet.
Yep.
But that's awesome. That's chili and
Yeah.
salt. What do you want?
See, I've got the opposite flavor to you. I love the sweet of the
Do
cocktail.
you? Oh no.
I don't know what it is. I just when it's that sort of spicy sort of. I don't want spices in my cocktail. I don't know. Give me a bit of a sugar here.
Nah, nothing wrong with a little bit of a chili around the rim. You can have a bit of a drink. Well, I enjoy a spicy marg. I can get on board with that.
Good stuff. We love to hear that. Aside from obviously property valuations and settling into life in Wollongong, what else do you do in your spare time if you get any?
Just love the outdoors. No, I get
Yeah.
plenty of spare time these days.
Good.
Look, love walking along the beach, having a swim, having a snorkel, exploring the area instead of driving around. You can walk around here.
Yeah.
I find honestly, doing less jobs per week as I do these more complicated things. Quite often I go 2 or 3 days without driving.
Yeah.
And I'm just walking around. I can walk into town from where I am.
Yep.
It's one of the reasons I enjoy living there. And I can walk to the beach, walk to the restaurants, walk to the pub. It's all
Brilliant.
there.
Winning. Yeah.
So yeah, honestly, I just like exploring, having a walk around. I mentioned Daniel the other day. We go for a walk down Blue Mile like every
Mhm.
week.
Nice.
But yeah, just trying to get it. The whole point of being in Wollongong for me is being outdoors.
Lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Love it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm a walker too. I always get yelled at by my friends. If we go traveling in particular, we'll go to
Yep.
a new city. And I say,
Okay.
it's not that far, guys. We can walk there. It's be like an hour walk. And I get yelled at. I love walking.
But you explore it. See, if you're on a bus or a train or a car, you're not
You
seeing
miss
all the
it.
stuff on the way.
Absolutely. Especially after a few drinks. That drunk walk home. It is my favorite thing. That is my favorite kind of walk.
Question is, can you remember?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Usually most of the time I can. If I can't, then it's probably a bit too long. If I can't remember it, I probably shouldn't be walking home. That's probably the good way to measure it, actually.
Well,
to be
walking is
fair.
probably your safest option.
Yeah.
I'd say, well, yeah. It depends on where I'm walking, I guess. All right. So we spoke a little bit about your career progression. I guess I wanted to circle back a bit. Quite a dramatic career shift going from, a science-based degree into IT and then into property.
Mm.
What sort of pushed you to make that shift? I know you were talking to Ben about it a bit before the podcast. I'd like to get it on record because I think it's really interesting.
I'm pretty nerdy. I like technical things. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not good at it. Honestly, I like things that are challenging. I like things that are sort of a bit sort of detail oriented. I really enjoy getting down into something and learning a lot about it.
Mhm.
So whether it was in fact mining, which I wanted to do, or IT, which I thoroughly enjoyed, doing the stuff I do in property valuation, more technical style stuff, is just really interesting because you learn a lot about construction. You learn a lot about
Yeah.
I don't know, retail, pedestrian foot traffic, or industrial is mostly about truck access. Well, it was back in the day. Now it's more sort of smaller stuff with online commerce and online shopping. Quite often with industrial now, it's more important to have more regular trucks coming in rather than big long ones that have to turn around. So yeah, the reason I got into all those things is I just find I'm very analytical. If I was going to make, like we said before,
Yeah.
for me, quantitative rather than qualitative.
Yep.
I can't draw. I can't do any of those things.
I'm with you there. Put a computer in front
I'm
of me.
detail oriented.
So basically, I think that's a really, really cool sort of takeaway there. Is you've sort of followed what interested you, which I think is probably
100%.
more than what a lot of people could say. So I'll give you
No.
credit for that. I think it's really,
Respect that. 100%.
yeah, I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I think you got to be brave and follow what you ultimately enjoy, because otherwise you're going to get bored and resent your job.
And I think it's very ballsy making those, because they're big career shifts. They're not sort of similar. They're completely different sort of careers.
Yeah.
So I give you credit. I think it's very ballsy making that switch, and good on you.
Well, thank you.
I did want to now jump into a bit more of the nitty gritty, because I think so many people always I said to you before you came on the show, there's so many preconceived and probably misinformed ideas about property valuers and what they actually do
And
and
real
how
estate
valuations
broking.
work. Absolutely,
All of us. Yeah.
and that's what we wanted to do. That's one of the reasons we set out to even start this podcast in the first place, is to shed a bit of light on some of those, I guess, misconceived industries and professions. So first and foremost, what kind of property valuations do you primarily do? What purpose do they serve?
So the ones I'm focusing on these days, I mean, be half and half. I just do fairly simple stuff like stamp duty, capital gains for B2C customers.
Mhm.
So it's their house, it's their property. They just need to transfer it. They need to sell it, whatever they're doing. They're fairly simple.
Yep.
And the other half of my job is more complicated, especially the expert witness court stuff. And I guess it's just providing a different service to different kinds of clients. So B2C is more simple style stuff, whereas my B2B, my LinkedIn stuff, where I do a lot of work, my contacts and stuff, is mostly lawyers. So 90% of my clients for B2B would be just lawyers, court work, expert witness work. And the ironic thing about being an expert witness in court, you don't have to be a valuer. You can be a broker, a real estate agent, plumber, painter. Anybody can be an expert witness. It's just being confident to stand up in court and get cross-examined, because barristers and senior counsel and King's counsel, they're brutal. They'll rip you apart.
It's their job to, right?
It is. It's their job to discredit you. But your job as the witness is to assist the court.
Yeah.
So you're there to help the judge ultimately. So it's really ironic. You generally meet the clients, well, not the clients, you meet the parties to the dispute on the site, the property quite often, which is not ideal, but that's what most of the solicitors do. I prefer not to meet them. And then you're being instructed. So they pay you. You are being instructed by these solicitors who have to do everything in email. They're not allowed to make any phone calls once you've been instructed, because it's all got to be a formal process.
Yep.
But you're ultimately working for the court and for the judge. So you've got somebody who is paying you and who can't talk to you. So you're not allowed to talk to the people involved in the dispute. The solicitors can't speak to you directly. Has to be with the other solicitor on the email.
Yep.
And you're there to help the judge out. So it's a bit of a weird job.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned obviously property-based disputes. Do you want to tell us a bit more about what kind of disputes we're talking about? So I know because I've spoken to you about it before, but for example, one situation is divorce proceedings.
Sure.
In marital breakdowns at the end of the day, sometimes, obviously that's one thing you handle, right? So if there's disputes about what an estate or something like that, or a combined sort of family.
Yeah, so I just get involved in the actual property part of the dispute.
Yeah.
Yep.
So people have their own issues in life, whether it's a relationship or whether it's a estate, someone's passed away, and there's people inheriting the assets or whatever and disputing the value of the items in the will. So my job is just to purely get involved in putting a number or doing whatever I can to assist the judge to make a ruling.
Yep.
So say, right, whatever property it is or properties or whatever, I've got to go and put a number on there at the end of the day, be completely independent, impartial. I have to write that I don't know anybody involved in the process.
Yep.
I didn't use AI.
Do you do primarily residential sort of disputes, or do you do commercial ones too?
Yeah, these days mostly resi, especially down here.
Yeah.
Does it just depend on what they have in their portfolio, or do you
it depends what kind of work you chase.
Okay. So is it a tender process, or is it?
No, I just do. I don't do
know?
tenders.
Yeah.
Tenders generally banks, governments, whatever.
Yeah.
I just tend to work directly with legal
For
firms.
clients, yep.
But yeah, it's interesting. You've got to be careful who you select for your clients, because as we were talking about before, if you've got one client who's giving you the majority of your work, you're not really independent, are you?
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
not,
problem,
isn't it?
No. So that kind of flows into my next question, because we were speaking about it before we started recording. But obviously, the valuations that Ben will do as an agent versus the valuations that I'm privy to as a broker are very different to, I'm sure, some of the valuations that you then do. So you've got we all kind of look at and deal with valuations in some degree, but they're so different.
Yeah.
So can you explain to us the kind of valuations that you do, whether they're your simple sort of capital gain stamp duty ones or the more complex ones?
Yep.
How do they differ both in sort of purpose and methodology to the kind of valuations that, people like me and Ben would sort of do?
Well, I guess the difference is, as we were talking about before this, is when you're dealing with bank valuations, there's not really any independence, because it's either a bank valuer who works directly for the bank, or it's a valuer who the bank is their biggest client. And you're not really at arm's length, because you can't really say no. So when the bank wants the result, and they might influence the valuer a lot, as we talked about before with certain situations, if they don't want to lend money, they'll use the valuer to achieve that goal.
I didn't realize that part.
Oh, yeah, it's easy.
They're not supposed to. I think.
No, I'm not trying to throw under the bus there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to
probably had
clarify.
situations where you do get squeezed by certain ends of the party, but I didn't think
But it's mostly risk for the
a bank
bank's point
would
of
sort
view.
of worry about it.
The lenders are more worried about the risk than they are about the actual number.
Yeah,
the number's important, but what they really want to know at the end of the day, they're lending money on a 30-year mortgage or whatever, right? This is more your field. But so they've got to go and worry about the next 30 years.
Yes.
Me as the valuer, I'm actually not allowed to consider the next 30 years.
Yep.
I'm only allowed to value today or historical values.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a different thing. So bank valuations, for a number of reasons, and maybe I shouldn't have gone too much about the independence, but they're not really doing it for the same purpose.
Yeah.
They're actually trying to work out, can the lender get their money back in 5, 10, 20 years?
Scenario. Yeah.
Because something might be good today, but there is a risk that it's going to have subsidence or fall down the cliff or something. And that's more what the banks are worried about.
Gotcha.
Well, I was always taught when I first started in the lending sort of field that a bank valuation is always going to be the most conservative valuation you'll do, because they're looking at worst case scenario. If you go into liquidation and bankruptcy, whatever, and the bank has to forcibly sell your home, what is like the worst case scenario they're going to get? Whereas a valuation that Ben does, opposite. He wants a high valuation. The more he sells it for, the more he gets paid.
Yeah.
And in your case, I think it falls somewhere in between, right?
True.
You're not incentivized based on the value. Whether it's high
No,
or
we have
lower,
to be
it doesn't
independent
really
because we've got to be
impact
able to justify
Yeah.
ourselves. So when somebody questions us, if
We
we've
can back
taken
it
a
up.
particular stance, that's not what we're supposed to do.
Yeah,
We're supposed to
yeah.
literally look at the data. So don't forget too, in real estate, your obligation is to your vendor.
Yep.
Your primary job is to get as much money as possible to sell that property. So you're not an independent valuer as such.
Exactly.
Because we
It's
have
got a
to be
horse.
right.
It's got a
just
horse in
different
that race.
purposes. That's right.
Ben loves a horse in a race.
And even with their bank valuations, like, back in the day when I was doing them 15 years ago, I would have to say, I don't think they're particularly conservative. Like the banks are competitive.
Yeah.
They're all competing
Yeah.
with each other. I'd say, if anything, they're pushing you higher. If they want to lend to those people,
Yeah.
they're actually, pretty much pushing you to get the deal through.
The
so,
lower the risk.
Well,
they're
I'll
happy
tell you.
to
I'll tell you right
potentially
now.
offer a
If
bit
you were
more.
still working for the banks, you'd have a lot less business these days because the banks, when I order valuations, that's
Yep.
all automated systems.
Yeah,
a
that's
lot of them
right.
through Catality, CoreLogic.
Yeah.
We are going to jump back in. Sorry, we did have a technical issue. Our camera cut out, unfortunately. And I believe it cut out right as I was talking about the fact that banks don't even do full valuations anymore. So if you were a bank valuer and that was your primary sort of source of business, you wouldn't be loving life at the
gone.
moment because basically anytime the LVR is below 80% now, it's almost every single time a desktop valuation or a full electronic valuation. It's very rare that they'll actually send out a valuer because the banks pay for it. The mainstream lenders usually pay for the valuation fees.
Yep.
And so it's in their
So
better
they don't pay
interest.
for a desktop one, or
They do, but it's
Sorry,
cheaper. It's a lot
Okay.
cheaper.
I was going to say, I reckon in the last 12 months, I probably had 2 face-to-face vals.
Yeah. Start
Like,
time
no.
for me, thanks. I'll give you one.
We'll be running there for another half an hour.
I stopped doing bank valuations like 15 years ago because I just objected to the way that they do it. I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
feel independent. All these things. Maybe it's changed, but
No, it
even
hasn't,
back then,
mate.
even back then, honestly, I was reading in America and Canada. This is back in 15 years ago,
Yeah.
2010 or whatever. They were doing already 80% of their stuff as automated vals. It's
Wow.
relatively new here, the last
Yeah.
5 years.
It
But
also
it's been
depends.
overseas very popular.
To your point, I think the reason I went down that, I remember now why I went down that tangent. The reason was that because you were talking about obviously the purpose, and if the bank wants the business, they will take it at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, they're more worried
And-
about the customer than the
Correct.
property
And
sometimes.
the thing is, we have to obviously tick the purpose of the valuation. So whether it's a purchase or a refinance, and if you tell the bank it's for a refinance and it's below 80%, they won't care. They'll
Yeah.
usually take the customer's estimate on the property. They don't give a shit.
More
'Cause they-
likely with Torrance title, though.
Yeah,
Right? Because you have land.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They want that business. That's their most secure form of business. It's a refinance. It's sub 80%.
Yeah.
Happy days.
That's right.
If you're doing a purchase with LMI that's up to 95%, you best believe they're going to want a full valuation every single
Yeah,
time.
that's right.
Like it's almost non-negotiable.
Just
at that
higher
point.
risk.
Correct. So it really does depend.
That's what they're all. But it's going to keep coming more and more. And look, it's good and it's bad. They're okay, but they're not accurate.
Yeah.
They're okay. Don't get me wrong. There's a purpose, and they are being done for a reason. For the simple
Reason
stuff,
being
it's
to make the
okay.
bank's money and save the money on long term.
Well, which fair enough. They're there to make a profit. You know what I mean? That's their.
Absolutely.
Again, we were talking before about real estate agent versus valuer versus broker. What are duties to the clients are?
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
all different.
Absolutely. I think
The
that's
bank's
the point we were
priority
sort
is
of
to make a
talking about when
profit.
the camera cut out was in this room, out of all the people who do valuations, you're probably the one person who's the most, I guess, independent in that transaction. You're the one that's probably the least biased in that whole transaction. The bank valuer's got a vested interest working for the bank. Ben's got a vested interest because, he's there to sell the property for as much as he possibly can. In your case, it's different. You're there to basically just present an objective reality to the court. Simple
Yeah,
as
that's
that.
right. So, I mean, Ben's duty is to his vendor. He's got to get the best
Correct.
price possible. So, whether the actual value is on paper, if he can get an extra 10%, happy days. That's his job.
He doesn't know the purchase or anything.
That's
at
right.
the end of the day,
Yeah.
he works for the vendor, and that's what people seem to forget about agents. When they cop slack, it's for the wrong reason. It's
If he gets a big result, that's his job. That's a great effort.
exactly 100%.
It's not about being nice to the buyer. That's not his job.
No.
We try to be.
I'm
You've
trying
got to be
nice.
professional, but your
Yeah,
job is to
100%.
look after
Exactly
the vendor.
right.
You
They're
try to
the
be
ones
nice to them
paying us
sometimes.
at the end of the day. So
That's right. So yeah, that's why I got into what I did now because I could see the writing on the wall 15 years ago. That's why I got out of mortgage valuations.
Yeah.
I could see that was going to go. Likewise with government valuations, there's lots of volume doing land rates or whatever,
Yeah.
council rates. But again, it just comes down to dollars per job.
yeah,
It's just very cutthroat. It's like any profession, if you're
Yeah.
in real estate, you've got to find something that you're different.
100%.
If all you're doing is off the block units in whatever it is, 10,000 of them, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Then
they're
it's
hard
hard to
to-
differentiate yourself.
Exactly. Right.
Absolutely, you got to stand
Yeah.
out.
That's right. You got to find something different. That's
Yeah.
and for me, for what I do, it is an issue in valuation because we don't have a duty to the vendor or whatever. We're just supposed to be independent.
Yeah.
Correct.
And if you're doing government tenders or you're doing bank work or whatever, there is that sort of problem that the person who's paying you is giving you most of your work.
Exactly right.
Absolutely.
So
That sort of leads into my next point too. Is we want to understand a bit more about the process and the methodology that you use when you're obviously doing valuations, because it's not an easy thing. It's not a straightforward thing, especially because not everywhere that you look to do a valuation, not every property has sufficient comparables, and it's not easy to determine what a property is worth sometimes, especially if it's a really niche sort of property. You know, like you might get some really weird property that's sitting on 17 hectares in the middle of nowhere. It's got like 37 garages and one little tiny homestead cottage. How do you value something like that? What do you compare it to? So talk us through a little bit about your methodology and how you actually use the numbers and the stats and whatever processes you use to actually arrive at a value for a property.
it's a good point. It does come down to whether it's you doing an appraisal, me doing a valuation, or whatever, you with the mortgage. You've got to go and find sales or leases if it's a lease valuation. If you don't have enough, it's hard to be accurate.
Yeah.
And again, if you're doing your job properly, you put your hand up and say, look, I don't have enough sales.
Yeah.
And I've had to do that with different jobs.
Yep.
You've just got to sit there and go, look, there are not enough comparable sales, particularly if you've got the biggest block in the area or something, or there's nothing like it. There's no point trying to make a number up on a rate per square meter.
To be fair, if you've got the biggest block in the area, Ben's probably already selling it.
I laugh because it's so much easier for us to walk in and just say we can't give you a definitive value. Obviously, the market's going to tell us what it's worth. But from your perspective, I find that impossible with some of the properties we sell because what do you compare it to? There's nothing that's sold, nothing that's around to say this is where the value lies.
No, it's true. Like if I was doing a court job, and I've had a couple recently in an area near the new Western Sydney Airport, where it's a rezoning area. It hasn't been rezoned. Everyone's waiting for it to be rezoned. There is no sales because everyone's waiting for the rezoning.
Yep.
So there was just no sales. I just said, look, I can't actually give a definitive number. First time in 25 years, and just had to go and give a range and say, look, here's something I can prove is worse. Here's something I can prove is better because it's been on the market for. Well, sorry, here's something that doesn't sell. There's a couple of properties on the market for like 2 years asking X amount. They weren't selling. So, but you know what I mean? You've just got to work with the sales you have. If you don't have them, you've just got to be honest about it and say, look, that's where we are. And especially with a dispute, some number is better than no number. So they're better off with a range rather than nothing.
Absolutely. And that's ultimately, in terms of, I guess, if you had to nail down your methodology, it ultimately bubbles down to comparisons, as most values, most valuations do. But I think the key thing that differentiates the kind of valuations you do versus like a bank valuation or Ben's valuations is your comparables are purely, you're more numbers focused. The end result in your case, realistically, is that end number, especially if it's a legal dispute. The only thing they care about is that end number.
Correct.
Whereas for a bank, it's not. It's a lot more risk driven.
That's the point I was trying to make.
The number's less important. The risk is more important. So, when you're looking at comparables and assessing comparables, obviously, what sort of things do you look at that determine what is deemed an inferior property and what factors determine whether it's inferior or superior is the question I'm trying to get out and my brain won't let me get out.
No, that's all right. No, good question.
Eventually.
And you asked you about methodology too. Look, if you're doing residential, most of the stuff that you sell, right?
Yep.
If we're doing standard residential, whatever the purpose is, whether it's capital gains, stamp duty, or court work or whatever, you're usually doing direct comparison. You're trying to find comparable sales. You're trying to compare it. People don't buy them based on a yield. So they're not saying you're getting 700 a week divided by 1.3 million is 4% or 2% net.
Yeah.
People don't buy houses for that reason or units unless it's for investment. So generally with residential, it's direct comparison. And you do a check method of summation or something or whatever. Not that that's particularly helpful. But we're doing retail, commercial, industrial. If there is a lease more than 12 months, like it's an ongoing lease, especially if it's 5+5 lease or something, it's not available to occupy. So you've got to value it as an investment. So you got to do income-based method. So you got to work out what the net income is. You got to find some sales of other similar properties with a yield, and say, okay, here's a factory or a shop or whatever it is that sold for a similar. It's otherwise comparable, and there's the yield. Here's another yield. It's somewhere between those two yields. And here's your rate per square meter. There's lots of other valuations you can do too, as in insurance valuations are all about the building. Land valuations are about the land. If you're doing disputes, like there's things called easements and encroachments and common property purchases where people buy the airspace above the unit.
That gives me so much PTSD. When you say easements and encroachments and things, all I think of is 5 risk ratings on bank valuations. And
well, that's the point of bank valuations. It's about risk. You're right. Whereas mine don't have that because that's not a concern to me. If I do an easement or an encroachment valuation, I'm trying to work out what the compensation payable is. Say, for example, somebody's putting in a duplex or a block of 6 units. There's 2 houses in the way to get to the main sewage line. So they've got to go and pay the people who are affected in the path of this stormwater easement, sewage easement, whatever it is. They've got to go and give them some compensation for disturbance and all the rest of it. So they've got to go and dig up their side of their, site or whatever. It also makes it difficult in the future to build on that area.
Yep.
So there's all those sort of things too. So
That's an interesting one. We've dealt with easements, and I've never had it come to a dispute or anything like that. It's more of just, hey, give me X, and we're all good. But that'd be a really interesting one to work out. Because
well, it is. There's a methodology for it.
Yeah.
Again, it's the same with the common property purchases. If you're buying the airspace in the roof above your unit, if you're a top floor unit, or if you're ground floor and you want to buy some with an unused courtyard or something, and you buy that off the owner's corporation, there's an extra thing in the car park that's not being used. You want to turn it into car space.
Yep.
There's all these little things, and again, this is stuff I got into because it's technical, it's interesting, and I'm truly independent because I can't be on anybody's side.
Yeah.
But with valuations, that's the point. There are many different methodologies, and it really comes down to, why are you valuing the property? What is the purpose?
Yeah.
Are you doing the land? Are you doing the building? Are you doing whatever? You know what I mean?
I want to drill down even further because,
That's
again,
all right.
I love it too. The technical side of it.
You can't get technical enough for me.
No,
Keep going.
I'm all for it. So let's focus on a standard residential valuation that you're doing. Let's say it is for a dispute, but it's a residential house. You got to value it, right?
Okay.
When you're looking at these comparables, right? Again, as you explained, standard methodology for normal residential valuation is comparable sales. They're either comparable, inferior, or superior, right?
Yep.
What factors are the most important? Obviously, there's a whole range of factors, but as all of us sitting here know, there are some factors that are more important than others
that's right.
when determining what is deemed inferior, superior, things like that. So things like the improvements on the property, so what condition the house itself is in versus the land size versus accessibility versus location. Which of those factors are the most important in determining what's an inferior sale, what's a superior sale, or what makes it directly comparable?
Yeah, and a good question. Like, I think basically it depends on the title. So if you have Torrens title, you have land. If you have strata title, you have no land.
Yeah.
So Torrens title, your most valuable component of value is normally land.
Yeah.
Unless you have a particularly tiny block and like 5 levels above it.
Yeah.
Happens in Paddington or whatever that might happen.
37 square meters, but I've got a 6-story house.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
10 out of 10.
But yeah, you're basically trying to find out what is your biggest effect on value. So for most Torrens title, it is the location, the zoning, the shape of the block, the size of the block. Are there easements, encroachments? Are there things stopping you using it? How level is it?
Yes.
You know, if you've got a sloping block, it's very expensive to build on. So really, before you even get to the house, for most older, especially properties, for most older style properties, the main component is the land because, eventually someone's going to knock it down and rebuild.
Yeah.
So a lot of properties are sort of 80% land value these days if they're older, like 1950s or whatever. And so you really got to identify all the things in the land and the location and the zoning, what you can use it for, and anything else like, power easements or whatever, before you get to the house. So then the house obviously comes down to what the construction is, design, or whatever. But unless it's a fairly modern house, it's actually less important than you think for most of the value. If you're doing an appraisal and you're down here near the water, the house is less relevant unless it's a really expensive construction, like over $1 million. If it's just a standard single-story, 3-bedroom 1950s, 80-90% of your value is the land, isn't it?
Exactly right.
Yeah. So what size is the block? How big is it? What's it zoned? Can you subdivide it?
Yep.
I think that's exactly the point I was trying to get at, right? I get so many people when they call me and they want to do a bank valuation and they sort of go, oh, but we renovated. We did 20 grand worth of reno, so it should be worth heaps more than all the other ones in the area. I'm like, yes, but you're sitting on a 600 square meter block with a 1960s built house that you've put fresh floorboards in and painted. Your floorboards and your paint are not going to jack up the value 100 grand more than your next door neighbor. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that.
The 20 grand, I reckon, is money well spent. The problem is the person who spends 500 on the old 1950 single story and keeps it as a single story.
Yeah.
There's a reason people do knock down and rebuild. You usually get a better value product at the end of it. It's expensive and time consuming.
Then a renovation.
But yeah, if you're trying to fix an old thing and it's not like period 1930s or something particularly exotic, like if it's just your stock standard 1950s, 60s, you normally just demolish it and rebuild.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Now with strata, that was Torrens title. With strata, you don't have the land component.
Correct.
So with strata, it's certainly more location, size of your lot, views, that sort of thing. How many bedrooms?
And obviously, with apartments, I've noticed as well, those improvements do play a more important
Yes,
part.
because that's what you have.
Because if you've got a complex with 50 units and yours is the most recently renovated, you'll get more money than the others in the complex because there's nothing else to really base that.
Assuming the same
valuation off.
bedrooms and aspect and everything else views.
Correct.
But they're the major components of value. So again, if you're near the water, quite often the water is the biggest view. If you've got a view of the water, that's worth
if
more.
Ben's selling it, Ben's the biggest view.
Well, quite often it's worth more than an extra bedroom, isn't it?
You're not wrong.
All right, I'm going to cut us off there, right? We're already sitting at 32 minutes. I had a feeling going into this, we were going to have so much to talk to Niall about because we love property and we love valuations. We're going to split this into a two-parter.
Cool. No problems.
So we're going to basically end this particular half of the episode here.
Okay.
It will be getting uploaded as 2 separate episodes. So we're going to hit pause. Ben's going to give us the usual outro, and then we're going to be back in again with part 2.
Happy days.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Thanks, guys.
Everything presented in this podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only, and all advice is to be considered general in nature. It does not take into account your personal circumstances and financial objectives. Please consider if this advice is right for you and look to consult a financial professional.